what does that image contains. So all these things, how do we check? So that is called developer tools we will see, and if time permits we will see the extensions of web browsers. So how to install plugins and add-ons, so those things we will see. So and these are all the things that we have discussed so far about web browsers. So web browser is a software or a client software, web client, which is used to connect to the web server and retrieve the web pages. So web browser, every web browser will have an interface. So in that interface we will have an address bar and different things like different buttons will be there, and there are some functionalities called bookmarks, history and private browsing, and navigation buttons like refresh, back, and refresh, stop, back, forward. So all these buttons will be there, and we have also seen how to save the contents of a web page, like how to save an image, how to save a PDF document, or any zip file how to save, or how to save a web page in a normal HTML mode, or how to save it as an archive. So these are all the things that we have seen, and in our previous session we have seen about cookies. So what is a web cookie or browser cookie, and what is the role of a browser cookie in our browsing session, and what is the use of the browser cookie. So browser cookie is a thing is a text file or any text string which is used to communicate or remember something in the browser. So it will be sent by the server. We have seen some examples like Flipkart or Amazon or Make My Trip. So Flipkart, we have selected one option, or we selected one item to purchase and added it to the cart, and when we close the session and open it again, then we have seen the selection is still present. So how we have not logged into Flipkart, or we have not explicitly saved anything, but it is saved in the browser cookie. So we also saw like we have cleared that browser cookie and again opened the Flipkart, it is the cart is disappeared. Similarly, Make My Trip, we tried to book a flight from Vijayawada to Delhi, and then we closed the session, or we closed the browser window. Then when we opened it again, and Make My Trip is showing the Vijayawada to Delhi flights, and with a respected date which we have selected earlier. So this is the use of browser cookie. So we have also seen like how to prevent a browser from remembering a cookie. So there are options to clear the cookie whenever the browser window is closed. So that option we have seen, and also the private browsing. So when we are in private browsing, the cookie will be automatically cleaned up, or no cookies will be saved in private browsing. So once we close the session, the cookie will be cleared, or we can go manually and delete a particular cookie. So that also we have seen in Chrome and Internet Explorer. So these are all the things we have seen so far, and we will discuss about browser cache in this particular session. Okay. So browser cache is a temporary storage location on our computer for the files downloaded by browser to display websites. So files that are cached locally include any documents that make up a website, such as HTML files, CSS style sheets, JavaScript scripts, as well as graphic images and other multimedia content. So what is a browser cache? So browser cache is a temporary storage. So it is also like a cookie, but it is a storage one. So it is not a text file or any, so it is unlike cookie, it is a memory. So it will remember some items. So a cookie will remember only preferences or any text formats, but cache, with the help of cache, browser can remember a lot more things. So browser can remember an image file or any URL, any resource that is accessed in a web page. So it's a temporary storage location on our computer. So where it will be located? It will be saved on our computer for files downloaded by browser to display websites. Suppose a website we have opened. So so far we have seen lot of websites like Flipkart, Rediff.com, Yahoo.com, and Amazon.com, Make My Trip. So every website is having lot of images and text, everything is involved in that. So where all these images are saved? So once they are downloaded, where and all it is saved and how it is being shown up? Suppose in a browser, in a web page there is a link. So this image should be displayed in this particular manner. This image is in this particular directory, like that it is showing, and in that particular directory, where is it? So it is on the computer location, it is on our local computer only. So it will download that image file from a particular URL and will save it on our computer, and will point our point link to that image, so that image will be displayed on the web screen or web browser screen. So, all these images or all these videos, multimedia content, everything will be saved on our computer, that is called web cache. Files are cached locally, include any documents. So, it can include any documents like PDF documents or any images or anything. So, any documents means any HTML files. HTML is hypertext markup language, which is used to write the web pages. So, some HTML content also can be saved, or CSS and JavaScript. Just you treat CSS and JavaScript also as HTML. There is some more functionality we are adding to HTML with CSS and JavaScript. So, treat the CSS and JavaScript as HTML files only. So, we can save lot of markup language text or any other language text. So, these are all we call all these things as documents. So, HTML document or any other related documents like CSS and JavaScript documents can be saved, or any graphic images, any images or any multimedia content, or like videos or audios and anything. Suppose there is an image which is very large image, where we want to we will be where the website is on which will take a lot of bandwidth, like 5 MB of an image is there, and when we access the web server, it will be downloaded. So, when we refresh, again 5 MB, when we refresh, again 5 MB, when we close the browsing session and open it again 5 MB. So, all these things. So, one website, how many times we accessed the same image, and the image is not being changed, and the same image getting downloaded from web server again and again. So, it will consume lot of bandwidth for us and also for the network. So, even the network is having some data. So, it is only 5 MB for us, and everybody everybody in the network try to download 5 MB of data. So, suppose google.com is a very popular website where everybody will open. So, suppose 50% of the people who are using the internet will open google.com first. Then google.com has placed one image which is of 5 MB, then 50% of the people, if everybody is downloading 5 MB of data, how much network load it will cost. So, it consumes lot of bandwidth for us, and it also consumes network delays also, network bandwidth also. So, in order to avoid that, what we will do is take that 5 MB of file and put it in browser. Whenever we open it, we will show every time the browser shows up the same 5 MB image file, which is stored on a local computer. So, this is the one. And when we revisit a website, browser checks if the content was updated in the meantime, and only downloads the updated files what is not already stored on the cache, in the cache. Okay. And this reduces bandwidth usage for both user and the server side, and allows the page to load faster. Hence, the cache is especially useful when you have slow or limited internet connection. So, when we are revisiting the website, browser first will check if that is updated in the meantime. So, suppose if the same example I am taking, a 5 MB of file is downloaded and we have put it in a cache. So, whenever we open, immediately if the browser shows up that 5 MB file, which is not good, because every time, suppose after 1 month also, if we open the same website, if the same image is being shown up, that is not a good website, or that is not a good way to design any web server. So, what the browser will do, browser will go and check with the server whether this file is updated. So, this file is having an ID, so this URL is updated, I am having this ID, and whatever the web server is having, if you are having the same ID, then I will show up the same thing. Otherwise, if you are having a different ID, that means it is changed in the meantime. We opened a browser 1 month back, and now if the file is updated, then only it will download. If the file is not updated, it will not download the file, it will show up the local file. So, that is the use of it. When we revisit the website, browser checks if the content was updated in the meantime. So, in the meantime, between the browsing sessions, so now we have accessed, and then tomorrow if we access, in this today and tomorrow, in the meantime, if the web server has updated the file or not, it will check. If that is not updated, then it will show the local one. If it is updated, it will show the remote one, which is downloaded from the web server. So, this is the updated one, please send me the new file, like that it will say. So, this reduces the bandwidth usage on both the user and server side. See, internet is precious not only for us. Internet will have a limited connection, like only a 10 Mbps connection will be there, and only 50 GB we can download. But it is also expensive for the server. If thousands of clients are using the same server, then even a single MB of data or a single byte of data will also multiply 1000 times. So 1 MB of data if we add from the server side, it means 1000 MB is increased, almost 1 GB of data is increased in the 1 GB of bandwidth is required or consumed in the server side. So the server even from server perspective also, it is very useful to have the browser cache. So once downloaded, and if it is not getting updated every time, it is better to use the same file instead of downloading every file. So this will reduce the this will reduce the pressure or the load on the web server also. So it is all, that is what. So the bandwidth usage both on the user and the server side, and allows the page to load faster. So if the files, if big files are available locally, then we can just upload and show up locally very easily. If the big file has to be downloaded from web server, it is lot slower. If the big file is downloaded from the local computer, then it will be faster. Hence cache is especially useful when we have a slow or limited internet connection. So if we have slow internet connection, only the limited calls will go to the server, the main files will be on the on our local computer. So a lot of time will be saved, a lot of bandwidth will be saved. So this is what is the this is one of the advantages of browser cache. So how web cache works? So how this basically works is, we will see. If the response headers tell the cache not to keep it, then it won't. If the request is authenticated or secured with HTTPS, it won't be cached by shared caches. So a cache representation is considered fresh, that is, to be able to send a client without checking if the with the original server. If it has an expiry time or age controlling header set and is still within fresh period, or if the cache has seen the representation recently and it was modified relatively long ago. So if the response header tell the cache not to keep it, then it won't. That means here we need to understand what is a response and what is a response header. So we know that a browser will send HTTP requests to the server, and HTTP response the browser will get, and the server will respond in HTTP response. So that is what is called response. Response means, okay, if the browser say get me this information, the get request will be honored with 200 okay or 201 accepted. So there are different response codes for each request. So the request can be get, put, post, delete and patch. So there are a lot of HTTP requests, and responses can be okay, I mean the code will be 200 and the response will be the meaning of 200 is okay, and the code is 201, the response is created or accepted. Something like this. There will be lot of if the code is 204, there is no content available. If the code is 401, then that means the request is unauthorized. So with this response code, it will send some headers also. So each request of HTTP request will have its headers. That means along with the information that is available, we will have the headers also. So these response will be sent back in a header format. So what the request will be there? Request is a get request, and the authorization is a header, and what kind of information that I am sending. If it is XML information, it will be application/XML. If it is JSON information, it is application/JSON. If it is multimedia, then it will be something different, or if it is a file transfer, then it is file multi-part data, and like this there is a lot of information we will put, or what kind of information. So I request this information, but how do I need this information, in what format? I understand only these two specific formats. So please send me in XML format. So what for this we will say this accept. So I will accept XML, application XML format you send me, or application JSON format you send me. So I will accept that only. So I will understand that only, like that client will tell. So these are all the header files. So, these response headers, so like this web server also will send a response. So, what is the content type, what is the content length. So, this is the information I am giving, what is the length of this. So, how many bytes I need to read to form this image. So, it is all in the form of the image. Suppose we are sending an image or we are sending a video or a stream, how many bytes. So, we are sending the information in the bytes format. So, how many bytes I need to read to understand this image. Suppose the image is 100 bytes, and if we are just reading 99 bytes, then the image will not be formed properly. Only maybe the 100 byte is having the proper information, or we do not know what to read and how to read. So, what is the type of this image? This is a JPG image or PNG image. So, which format I need to construct the image. So, all this information we need to put it in headers. So, like this there is some header for cache also. So, cache will tell whether to keep this URL in cache or not. Suppose I am sending an image, but do not cache it. So, if I can say that in the header, that means no store. So, if I say no, do not store anything about this URL, do not store this particular image, then we will not store that particular image. So, that is the meaning of it. If the request is authenticated or secured, then it will not be cached by shared caches. So, there is something called shared caches. So, all the cache information is there, and all the websites that we are able to access are different websites also may be able to access that cache. So, if the information is authenticated, suppose there is some authentication information, only this particular user can access this information, or only this particular user can view this particular video, then it will not be saved in the shared cache, it will be a private cache. And also if the connection is secured, that means if it is a HTTPS protocol, we have seen an introduction to HTTPS, that is HTTP secured, hypertext transfer protocol secured. That means every request response will be communicated in a secured manner, that is we encrypt particular information and will communicate. So, I encrypt it here and send to the server, and server will encrypt it and send to the browser. So, what I need to encrypt? So, usually web client or the web browser will encrypt the usernames and passwords. So, username and password I cannot send it in a plain text format, because somebody in between can read it. So, what I will do is username and password I will encrypt it. That means I will change I will change the way they are constructed and send to the server. Server will again decrypt it and will understand the username password and will get the information, and again encrypt the information, will send to the client. So, client and server know what key. So, there is a key to key for encryption and decryption. So, server and client will both know the key to encrypt and decrypt the information. So, client will know what key I need to use to decrypt this information and save it. So, it will decrypt and save. So, those particular URLs, the information related to the HTTPS also will not be cached by shared caches. So, cache representation is considered fresh, that is able to send able to be sent to a client without checking if with the original server, if only the following conditions are met. So, cache representation is considered fresh, means a cache, even a file is stored locally, it will be considered fresh. That means this is the fresh copy of the file. So, whatever the server is having, that only I am also having, that means it is fresh. So, even without checking with the server, we can say that it is fresh, because it has an expiry time and age controlling header set, and still within fresh period. So, why we are saying it is fresh is it is in the fresh period. That means server has given one image and saying, so this image is valid for 2 days, and within 2 days how many times you hit the server, you will get the same image. So, what I will do is I will cache that image, and within 2 days whoever accesses that particular image, I will show up the local content and show it as fresh, because there is a age controlling header set. So, whenever I access a particular image or a URL, the age controlling header also will be set with the image or the URL. So, this age controlling header is, so this is valid for 120 seconds, this is valid for 500 seconds, this is valid for 2 days, something like this. If the age is set, then it will be considered fresh for that particular 2 days time or the expiry time. So, expiry time is what is the age controlling header, which is a time we can set when the server is sending the response, it can set the time. So, next 2 days I am not going to update it. So, next 2 days whoever is hitting this URL, you the browser show the same image, so which is fresh one. And in this case, even without checking with the server, so a browser will not check with the server again and again if it is set, if the age controlling header is set. So, it will directly show up the local one. So, this is one condition. The other condition we will see, the cache has seen a representation recently and it was modified relatively a long ago. So, there is another type of thing is cache has seen the representation recently and it was modified relatively a long ago. So, this the representation the cache has seen very recently and the original thing was modified long ago and it is not modified anymore, then it will not check with the server. Okay. And more thing is, fresh representations are served directly from the cache without checking from the origin server. If a representation is stale, the origin server will be asked to validate it or tell the cache whether a copy, whether the copy that it has is still good. So, under certain circumstances, for example, when it is disconnected from a network, a cache can serve stale responses without even checking the original server. So, there are some more things when it will not check with the origin server, that is the web server. So, fresh representations are served directly from the cache without checking the origin server. So, fresh representation, we have seen what is a fresh representation. Fresh representation is the one which is inside the expiration time or which is inside the age controlling header. So, if the age controlling header is not expired or if the age controlling header is not passed, then it is considered as fresh, the URL or the resource is considered as fresh, then in that case it will not check with the origin server. If the representation is stale means it is there for a long time and the origin server will be asked to validate it. Suppose we have an image and which is of 5 MB or 10 MB of image and we usually we would not like to go to the server and get it. The browser will not like to download 10 MB of data every time. So, it will ask the server to validate. I have this particular image which is of 10 MB size and this is having this particular ID and is this ID valid or is this the same ID that you are also having. So, it will check with the web server, it will check this ID, it will send this ID to the web server and web server will say, okay, yeah, this is the same ID I am also having. So, you have the fresh copy, you save it and I am not going to update it further. So, you update all the expiration times, everything. So, you don't need to come to me for this until next 2 days, like that. If the server says, then it will load the local copy instead of getting it from the server. Okay. So, in that also the stale copy is still holds good. Under certain circumstances, for example, when it is disconnected from network, a cache can serve the stale responses without checking the origin server. So, and one more thing is, suppose we downloaded we opened a web page and the web page is the web server is no more available or we are disconnected from the internet and we try to open the same website, then in that case also browser can show up the same web page which is cached. A browser can show up the same resources, same web page from the cache without even going to the web server, because web server is not available and we may be browser will think, instead of not showing anything, maybe I can show up something to him which is stale and cached. So, that if we are interested only in reading the web page, then that is perfectly fine. I do not have to navigate anywhere, I can read the file and I am fine with it, and I want to navigate to somewhere else. If this web server is not available, another web server might be available. So, I open a cached web page, I will open and move to another hyperlink, so that my job is done. So, at least if the web server is not available, I can show the cached web page and make the user somehow comfortable up to some extent. So, this is how the cache works. So, as here in the diagram is showing, browser, it will contact the resource cache and will get it. So, here browser get slash file, that means browser is requiring some file to the server. The red line indicates browser's request and green line indicates its data. I mean the data is downloaded to the browser from web server, or the web server's response is shown by green line. So, we got the we sent here only one packet of data to get the information, but server has sent a lot of information, lot of packets it sent with a response of 200, that is okay. So, we received a positive response, and we will cache that resource, and whenever the web browser want that information, it will directly ask the resource cache instead of asking the server. So, and here the red line indicates that if the browser is accessing the resource cache and resource cache is giving the resource. So, browser can show up the images or the resource in its window. So, here is whatever I have said. I said like content length and cache control E tag. So, content length is 1024. So, 1024 bytes of data the server is sending back. So, here these are all the headers that I told you. So, the response headers will say the will control, can be used to control the cache. That means the cache control is one command and E tag is one more header. So, these are all the headers that we use to control the cache. How they will control, we will see. The content length is not a cache control one. Content length is used to denote how much length of the what is the length of the information that the server is sending back. So, here 1024 bytes of data the server is sending back. Okay. And browser cache, load the cached content after checking with the server. So, here we downloaded and saved in resource cache. So, it is directly asking the resource cache and loading it to the browser, but here it is checking with the server. So, resource cache is already available, and before loading the resource cache, what it will do is it will say get this particular file, if none match x234dff. So, there is a file here, there is a header here. So, here what is the E tag that is set here, if you see, it is x234dff. So, when requesting, browser is requesting get this particular file if none match x234dff. So, if this particular ID is not matching, give me the file. If this ID matches, give me another respond in a different way. So, server what it will do is it will take this ID x234dff and will check with whatever the file that is present in the server, what is supposed to be shown. So, in first time it has given the data and browser has cached it. Second time this E tag information whatever is present here, browser sent that E tag information along with the request. So, here if you see there are no headers from browser, and here if you see there is a header called if hyphen none hyphen match. So, this header browser has sent to the server, and server it has seen this particular ID, it checked with the file that is already present, the ID is matching. So, what it will say, instead of in first time it sent 200 okay, and this time it sent 304 not modified. So, 304 denotes or indicates the file has not been modified, the URL is not modified, and max age is 120 seconds. So, if any request comes after 120, so until 120 next 120 seconds you do not come to me, you directly show the resource cache. If after 120 seconds is over, then send me the E tag again. So, within 120 seconds if there is one more request for the same resource, then it will not go to the server, it will not even check with the server, it will just show the same resource. If after 120 seconds it will check with the server along with E tag. So, the header name is if none match. So, with this E tag you come to me, then that time I will tell you whether to load or not. So, instead of 200 here it denoted 304, then browser understood okay, this is not modified from this is not modified, whatever the copy that I am having is a fresh one. So, I need to load it. So, that is what the browser will understand. So, next So, this is how it is loaded the cache after checking with the server. Suppose if it is different, suppose the e tag is different, or the ID that we are accessing the image is different, then it will send with 200, again cache control max is something, and e tag, it will respond with a new e tag, so that the browser understands that this is a new image, the image that I am having in my cache is not is no more valid. So, it will delete that cache and will load a new image. Okay. And issues with the cache. So, what are the issues with the cache? So, browser can get quite large, and so browser cache can get quite large and take up lot of space on your hard drive. So, filled with data from websites that you will never visit again. So, while you can limit how large it can be, it is still useful to occasionally clear it to fix the problems and speed the things up again. So, sometimes cached versions of websites can cause issues. For example, when browser does not load a fresh copy even though the site was updated since last caching it. Okay. So, what are the issues with cache? So, there are it is good that browser is loading the cache, and browser is loading the images and all the resources from cache, and the response time is faster. So, these are all the advantages, but what can be the disadvantages? So, this cache, so these are all the large files we are caching. So, these are all existed in memory and hard drive, that means it is taking up some resources from the website. So, suppose we have seen the Flipkart is saving some data. So, we will just see how much data the Flipkart is saving. So, if you see the computer monitor, I am opening the Internet Explorer, or I will open Google Chrome, so that it will be clear. So, just I am opening flipkart.com. Go to settings, set settings, cookie, cache. So, content settings, manage cookies, all cookies and site data. Flipkart. So, all the data is see, it is almost 1.5 MB. So, suppose if I select something like I selected some perfume, and I am adding it to the cart. So, it is added to the cart, just click continue shopping. Then if I go here, close it, content settings, again if I see Flipkart, it became 2.5 MB. So, every time we access new data, so it is 2.5 MB now. What I will do is I will try to add some more things. Let us see what will happen. So, again let me go to Flipkart. So, this time I will buy a bag. Okay. So, I clicked a bag, add to the cart, and continue shopping. I let me select a few more things. Add to cart, then continue shopping. So, fine. So, we selected some few things, and then I am going to settings, content settings, and all cookies and site data. If I search for Flipkart, it is 4.5 MB. See, we just opened the same website for 3 times, 2-3 times, and then selected 3 items, and it was 2.5 MB. So, you can imagine how much data it has been saving. So, there are hundreds of websites that we will be opening every day. So, just for Flipkart, that too only with a browsing of not even 1 minute. So, just within few seconds or few minutes, it saved 4.5 MB of data. So, like this, if we keep on accessing Flipkart, Amazon, so all hundreds of websites we keep on accessing, it will take up a lot of space on our hard drive and fill all the data from the websites. So, fill up the hard drive and memory with the data from the websites. Suppose we opened all these things and we will maybe I will not visit Flipkart for next 1 year, then all this data will be just there as some cache. So, whenever I open Flipkart again, then only this data will be useful, and then we will think that this cache is useless. But this 4.5 MB will take up the memory till I open or till I clear the cache, or till I do something with this Flipkart.com, it will not be useful. But the data is already saved on the hard disk. Until we delete it, until we do something, then the data will be there. So, but we can still limit the files how large it should be. So, the cache, if the cache is exceeding some 100 MB, then clear the old things. So, lot of settings are there, but it is usefully it is occasionally it is useful to clear the cache occasionally to fix the problems of speed. So, why it is causing the speed problem? That means, if the memory is occupied fully, then automatically speed will decrease. If we have lot of memory, then automatically speed will be more, because we can cache lot of things. So, the speed will be more. If any computer which is having less memory will have less speed also, because we can cache only little things. So, even if you have a big processor which is having a high processing capacity, if the memory is very less, then we cannot do much. Okay. There is a virtual memory concept in that. So, the page should be refreshed. So, how much pages we can save in the memory, then that much faster the computer will be. So, if we have lot of pages available, if we have very less space available, then the computer speed also will be less. Okay. Sometimes cached versions of websites can cause issues. So, one problem we have seen is the memory issue and the speed issue. Sometimes the cached version of websites can cause issues. For example, when the browser does not load the fresh copy, even though the site is updated since last caching it. So, now we have accessed a website, and the web server does not foresee that this particular image will be changed, or suppose a news website is there. So, we saw a particular news item in the headlines, a particular image is there in the headlines. So, let us say no news websites will be like that, but just an example I am saying. So, a particular news is coming on the headlines or in the home page, an image is coming. So, news website has seen that, okay, this is the front line, this is the headline which I am not going to change till tomorrow morning. So, in that case, in the afternoon there is a big damage or very big news happened, which should override all the headlines. Then the browser is still showing the old website, old image, because already the server said till tomorrow morning this is going to be valid, but already the website is changed. But we have seen the E tag or the cache control, it is saying age is 24 hours. So, till 24 hours we will not show up the new thing, or any if the server is updated and if the client is not updated, it is definitely going to cause some problems to the user. So, these kind of problems will be coming. And another evidence for caching issue is when a website loads partially and looks like it is badly formatted. Since the cache lies at the heart of many website related problems, IT support will recommend that you will clear your cache when you report a respective phenomena. So, cached data reveals what website you have visited in the past. So, this may be a privacy concern depending on who has access to your computer or how the other websites visitors use this information. So, a few more cache issues with the cache are, so cache issue when the web if we have a lot of cache and the web browser is keep on loading the cache, then it might be looking ugly in the ugly or badly formatted UI we will be seeing sometimes. That means, suppose a browser page or a web page is designed to show, okay, here is this image should be there, and here this image should be there, and below all the matter or all the text should be there. Suppose a browser has updated, but the image URL is not updated. So, image is proper, but the browser has said some reorganization in the image, reorganization in the web page, but the image is still showing here, and the reorganization might be first text then image, then both images should be down and the web text should be top. So, earlier the images are on top and the text is down, but with whatever the cache confusion with the browser, the one image is shown here, then text, then image, which is a bad formatting. So, these kind of formatting issues will be seeing with the cache. So, since cache lies at the heart of many website related problems. So, if the website is not shown properly, then most of the times it is the cache which is the culprit. So, occasionally IT support people, if in any company, if any browser is not showing properly, or we will be working on some tools, and if the tool is not working properly, so the IT professional, IT support people, so we will, if there is any problem with any software or hardware in our computer, what we will do, we will simply call IT support. So, information technology support people will be there in every office. So, if there is any problem with our computer, usually we call them. So, what they will do, if you say that there is some problem with my browser, this tool is not opening properly in my browser, they will say clear the cache and retry, so that a fresh copy will be opened. So, cache data reveals the website that you have visited in the past. It is not only the history that reveals the data, the cache also reveals the data, because just now we have seen not only the history, but cache also. Cache, we have seen that so Flipkart is storing all this data, Amazon is storing all this data, Google is storing all this data. So, by looking at the cache, we can actually tell when the cache is created, when the website is visited, what and all the things that the user has selected. If we have seen, if we can access the cache and can detect some privacy information also, like usernames and passwords. If they are if they are saved in plain text format, they can steal that also. If the same computer and the same browser is being used by others, then they can steal that information, and that can be a privacy concern also. So, these are all the issues with cache. So far we have seen what is a cache and how to access a cache, and how to clear the cache, and what are the types of accessing the cache, like the browser can contact the web server and get the information, or browser will know how, if the information is fresh in the local computer, and whether to load the local computer information or whether to contact the web server. So, depending on the headers and age factors, or maximum age, how much it is, how much time it is valid. So, these are all the details the browser will know, and if what is the meaning of 200 OK or 304, the content is not changed response from web server, and what is an e-tag header, and how that e-tag header will be used as an identifier for a particular website or a particular URL. So, this is all we have seen. In the next session, we will see more about cache, like how do we control the cache. So, what are the cache control headers that we are going to use. So, these are all the things that we will see in the next session. Also, we will see the debugging part of the browser. So, why it is not formatted correctly, or what this particular URL means, or what this particular image in the web page is doing, or what this particular hyperlink. So, where this hyperlink will lead me to. So, these are all the things is called inspecting the web page or debugging the web page. So, this is all we have to see, we will see in the next session, that is the 19th session. Thanks a lot.